Hello, YouTube. Just waiting for TikTok to turn up. Oh, my hair is all goofy. Hello, Martin Babe. Anya. I think Anya, you've been here before. Sorry, my hair's all goofy. I don't know what's going on. I've got about 4 cowlicks in my hair, so it has a mind of its own. So while we're waiting for people to turn up, I'd love to know where you're from. Most people are regulars, but if you're new, I'd love to, if you put down new in your in the comments there. I'm always interested to see how many new people turn up. Okay, so I'm here in Vancouver, Canada. So where are you from? I have one too, cowlick. I got one there, and back there that I know of. I have a bunch more. New York. I went to New York new. Oh, you're new. Oh, welcome. I went to New York for my 50th birthday, so 12 years ago. Loved it. Just never saw one tourist attraction. 8 hours a day, walked up and down Manhattan just all day, discovering new things. It was wonderful. New, excellent. Love watching your videos on toddlers. I have my own class of 2-year-olds, so it's helpful. Excellent. A lot of stuff can be crossed over to daycare schools, but a lot of it can't. But yeah, some of it can. A lot of my clients are teachers and principals and that. 10 p.m. here. Sooner. Yeah, I'm on late tonight. It's just been a crazy day. So yeah, and I'm staying in tonight. My daughter's getting married tomorrow, so just taking it easy. Chicago, Illinois. Okay, congratulations. Yeah, it's just they've been together for 10 years. It's just a real quiet, just them. It's all outdoors. I made her wedding dress. She designed it. I made it. And there's just the 2 sets of parents. So my ex-husband and I and his parents, and we all get along great. So it's going to be nice, quaint little, we're going to a beautiful restaurant afterwards. Really quiet. It's going to be beautiful. She was going to elope, but anyway, it's just all simple and sweet. Okay. Yeah, I'm not usually on this late. I'm not that awake yet. I'll wake up. Okay, so how many people? Yeah, we got enough people. Let's get going now with your parenting questions. If you go on the link above, you'll see everything I've got to offer. You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. That's free, and you're on that too, by the way. That's what makes it work. You got to give respect to get it. Okay, parenting questions. This is a huge debate. Is a 1-year-old a toddler? My son is 13 months and he's like a little man. Yeah. They say toddler is like 1 to just under 3. I think when they turn 3, they're preschoolers. That's the way I look at it. But no, who cares, right? It doesn't really matter. I sort of think they're kind of babies at 16 months still. That's when they sort of turn the corner. But they're all different, right? They develop at different rates, but yeah. Yeah, I think toddlers to me is like 1 to 3, and then 3 and up is 3 and 4 is preschooler, 5 to 8 is school age, 9 to 12 is preteen or tween, and then 13 and up obviously is teenager. That's the way I split it up. But okay. How can I stop my toddlers from hitting each other? They all just turned 2. So have you got that? Did you say you've got that toddler? You look after a whole bunch of them? Yeah, I can't teach that. Like, I don't teach daycare. You know what I mean? I teach parenting. So I can't really comment on that. Yeah. The reason is because in institutions, because daycare, schools, they're not personal. They're not home. I teach home life. And they're different. You have different systems in place. There's different laws that you have to abide by. You know, it's just all different because you're not actually the parent. So it's different. 1.5-year-old running off, example, at the park, can't leash them to play. Running off at the park. So you can't leash them to play. I think I would. I mean, there's lots of parks that are enclosed, right, with gates around them. I mean, where I live, there are. So yeah, I would probably, as soon as they run, I'd clip them in right away. So you might let them free, but as soon as they take off, I'd clip them in very quickly, and then follow them around for a while with the leash on them, and then let them go, and then clip them in. They will learn. They learn through repetition. Toddlers are all about consistent corrective actions. They're not about words, so they will eventually learn. But yeah, they're just quite annoying at times because they take so long to learn. And they're all feet, no brains, right? Toddlers are my least favorite age. They're cute as a button, but they are all feet, no brains. So they're my least favorite age because they're the age I had to worry about the most because you always worry about them just walking off a cliff or something. Okay. How do you avoid everything being a fight with a 2-year-old? Everything, eating, sleeping, bathing. Well, that says to me that that 2-year-old knows you're in charge. If they're fighting you with everything, then that sort of says that they know they've got a lot of power. So yeah, there's lots of different ways you can take control. I don't quite know where to start there. Start one thing at a time, though. Don't try and master it all. Maybe I would probably do bedtime first. Master that one first. My baby's 10 months old. What should we be doing now for his good behavior in the future? I'm going to read out what I have here. I keep reading this because I wrote it down and I'll never remember if I don't read it, what I wrote. My 5 best tips for toddlers. So when they're babies, just love them up. Pick them up when they cry. Don't worry about anything. Like what I mean is don't worry about spoiling them. I picked my kids up every time they cried when they were babies. Okay, so when they're toddlers, like 1.5 to about 3, I have 5 tips for you, and it'll set you up for the future too. Well, you won't be doing all these things in the future, but it's a good start. So number 1 is childproof your whole house when they're little, because then you don't never have to say no. Number 2 is have a toy rotation system in place so they never get bored. Number 3 is enter their world when you play with them. So when you're playing with them, don't just sit back and go, well done, well done. Lay on the floor, put your head down lower than theirs even, and you get into their world. They just start looking at you differently. They connect with you on a different level. So they feel more understood. My computer's acting up. Anyway, and then number 4 is stop trying to figure them out. They're brand new, fresh human beings. They don't make any sense. They are crazy, but only because they haven't got sense yet. They haven't developed common sense. They haven't developed sane yet because they're just brand new, fresh human beings. So don't try and figure them out. And stop talking and start taking action. Toddlers are all about actions, not words. So, there's many therapy sessions that I hate so much, can't stand them. Use your words and how are you feeling? Let's discuss your big feelings. It's all crap. I know it's trendy right now, but it's just garbage. They're all about actions, consistent corrective actions, because toddlers learn through repetition. So those are my 5 best tips for parenting toddlers. I started with 3 a week ago, then I added 4, and then I added 5. I could probably add 50 more, but I'm trying to keep it at 5. I have no idea what you're talking about. My almost 3-year-old runs, gets out of the cart. What cart? I don't know what you mean. Keep her on a leash, baby. Yeah, I would. It's a safety thing, right? Like you strap them into a car. I'd strap them in at the park too if I had to. Because, they're really dangerous at the park. There's kids swinging. They'll just walk right in front of a swing and get feet in their head. And number 2 was toy rotation system. So number 1 is childproof your whole house so you never have to say no. Number 2 is have a toy rotation system. Have 99% of their toys put away at any given time, once a week, just rotate them. And so they never get bored. They do tend, even though they've seen it before, they do tend to look at it like it's new. If they haven't seen it for a week or 2 weeks or a month, they look at it like it's new. I did that with my kids. And, enter their world, stop trying to figure them out, and then consistent corrective actions to correct bad behavior, not words. They're not about words. 17-month-old climbs on everything, melts down if I remove her, very confident. So what if she melts down? Who cares if she melts down? That's her own process. You're afraid of that. So if you're afraid of a tantrum, a scene, or a fit, they are in charge. My attitude is bring it on. Behind every fit, every scene, every tantrum is a lesson for them. Okay? Means that you cannot climb. Climbing is very dangerous. So yeah, there's no way I'd let that go. I don't care if they have a scene. Too many parents are afraid. What do I do? How do I avoid a tantrum? Are you kidding me? Bring it on. If you're trying to avoid it, they're in charge. So yeah, if a kid, when I was babysitting kids, if they'd ever start up because they weren't getting their own way, I'd just be like this. Like, bring it on. Are you kidding me? You can beat me? No way. Yeah, behind every scene is a lesson. That's their process. They've got to learn to accept the word no. That you can't interrupt that. You can't self-regulate. You can't talk them through it. You can't have a therapy session to discuss this with them. They have to learn that they don't always get their own way. The only way they learn that is if you allow their brain to process that all the way through. Interrupting a tantrum interrupts that process and slows it down. Any suggestions with toddlers with possible autism? Yeah, I work with kids with autism, but I don't discuss it on TikTok. That's a specialty. If you want my help, you'd have to hire me for that. It's in the link above. Son is almost 2. How can I teach him to stop hitting, pinching, etc.? I have a whole course on that. It's my mini course. My mini courses are just $29. I have 3 of them for toddlers. One is toddlers who hit and bite. It goes into all that in great detail. It's different from the tantrum one. When they're tantruming, they often hit, but that's different. It's when they just pinch and that just because they do, that's a different course. Check YouTube comments. Yeah, I did. Oh, I thought you meant in my videos. Having tantrums in public is very embarrassing. Do I let them scream in the restaurant or an airplane? Okay, airplanes I can't discuss because you're trapped there. There's not much you can do about it. But I still, okay. Anyway, in restaurants, you take them out to the parking lot. There's no way I would put restaurant people through that. That's not fair to them. So yeah, take them out in the parking lot. You have to suffer, not everybody else. It's your kid, you suffer. You leave your meal sick and you pack it up, we're gonna take it to go. So yeah, that's what you should be doing. There's no, it's just, you got a toddler. That's just part of it. You're going to be inconvenienced. You're going to have to leave in the middle of your meals. That's just part of having a toddler. So, you know, or if someone's still, if you got a husband or someone still in the restaurant, you can just take that kid out and let them have their tantrum out in the parking lot. So yeah, it's embarrassing. I'm proud of that. I'll tell you the mall story. It explains this public tantrum stuff. My son was about 3. And it was I think his second to last tantrum. He had more than with dad. He didn't have many with mom. But anyway, so he was in the mall and he just started throwing a tantrum. I hadn't even been talking to him. We're just walking through the mall. I have no idea. Who knows? They either have tantrums or they don't. He did. My daughter never did. Anyway, he started having a tantrum. So I pulled him off to the side and then I got out my nail file and I'm just filing my nails. I'm waiting. He knew the drill. He knew mom's not going to give that any attention. So I'm filing my nails. All these young moms were walking past. You should talk to him. Talk about his big feelings. I'm like, oh God, they don't know what they're talking about. Keep going, keep going. But all these grandmothers and moms with older kids kept coming up to me going, good on you. You know what you're doing. I'm like, yeah, I know what I'm doing. Anyway, he finished his tantrum. Didn't last that long. I said, you all done? Okay, let's get going. No big deal. I don't discuss tantrums before, during, or after. So yeah, he only had 1 tantrum after that. But embarrassing? No way. I'm proud of that. Because I don't care what the young moms think. They're inexperienced. I care what the experienced moms think. They were coming up to me. I wouldn't have cared anyway. I had a lot of experience with kids before I had my own. Positive consequences. You don't talk like that. I don't quite know what you mean by that. I don't talk like that. So I don't know what you mean by that. I started babysitting at 11 years old, and I can remember my very first client. Well, they said, "Oh, good luck," because they had one of their kids was older. He had some learning difficulties, and he was a bit of a behavioral issue. So they said, "Good luck with him. Just make sure that they're alive when we come home." That was about it. He was good as gold for me. They couldn't figure it out, and I know exactly what I did. And I also was volunteering in daycare centers. I was 11, weird kid, wasn't I? I was always mothering everything. So, but yeah, I didn't know how to explain it. They were trying to ask me how I did it because the kids liked me too. They wanted to be around me. But yeah, I knew how to bring out the best in kids. They liked themselves when they were with me. So they wanted to please me. That's what you're really after. Just keep watching me. It'll start to make sense after a while. I can't just sum it up in one sentence. Okay, how do I stop my 2.5-year-old from gagging so she pukes to get her own way? Nothing you can do about that. Let her do it. She'll eventually get bored with doing that. You can't stop that kind of stuff. It just has to wear itself out. I constantly remind myself to do small, quick corrective actions. Thank you for that. Yeah, it's consistent corrective actions. Just get it over with. You got to get it every single time, though. Just pick a battle. Pick one behavior that you want to fix every week, okay? Because you can't do them all, but just pick one per week and see how that goes. And it usually gets worse before it gets better because they've got history with you, probably being able to push you around. And when you stop being able to be pushed around, they get worse. They're like, I remember the old you. I'm going to get even worse. So expect it to get worse before it gets better. Everyone wants the rainbow, but I always say, are you ready to go through the storm? Because that's what it's going to take. But the rainbow's worth it. But you got to work for this. Any tips on teaching stranger danger for very friendly kids? Well, I don't want to scare you, but I've worked with a lot of abused kids. I've specialized in crisis work, so I've done a lot of that kind of stuff. Anyway, it's usually not a stranger that touches them, by the way. It's usually someone that they know. It's often an older sibling that does something to them. So yeah, I teach that you are in charge of your own body. That's what I taught my kids when they were little. Here's your private parts. No one's allowed to touch them, talk about them, show you theirs, talk about theirs, tell you to keep secrets, nothing like that. I know all the tricks of these freaks. I know how they operate because I've dealt with so many kids who've been abused. And you know what I'm talking about. Anyway, so yeah, I just taught my kids it's okay to say no to anybody and there are no secrets. They may even threaten to kill your whole family and your dog. They're not going to do that. They just don't want you to talk. They don't want to get in trouble, but they'll get in trouble and they should. So anyway, my kids were very empowered. I started talking about private parts when they were 3. And then I kept it all age appropriate right through the years. By the way, the sooner you start talking about all the sensitive issues with little kids, like it's no big deal. My kids didn't think anything of it. If you have the big talk, once a year, you might scare them. But I was always talking about stuff with my kids, so they didn't think anything of it. And they were very, very prepared for stuff because I had no filter. I just talked about everything, age appropriate. They'll tell you everything. Random, but I love your earrings. My daughter and I have these because we don't really like jewelry or anything or makeup or anything. So she's got one hole in each ear and I've got 2. So yeah, they're just little, never have to take them out. Okay. Thank you. Yeah, we both got them. I like it how people talk about little ones being independent. Yeah, they don't have their own job. They don't have their own apartment or drive themselves to work. So they're not really independent. They're just feisty. They're just feisty. So 19-month-old won't really brush her teeth. She's independent. Do I force myself to brush her teeth. You just brush them. Just keep doing it. Don't make a big deal out of it. You could be humming a song while you do it like it's no big deal to you. If you show that it upsets you, they're more likely to keep going. So yeah, or they're 19 months old. Yeah, I might do it at that age. I might have just their favorite song on an iPad or on your phone. They only see that while they're getting their teeth brushed. So you can watch this while you're getting your teeth brushed. The second they put up a fight, you turn it off. It might take a while for them to clue into what's going on, but yeah, you can try that. Okay. 2 piercings is showing our age, because me too. Yeah, back in the day, we used to get this. Like I was born in 1960, and so I grew up in the 70s, really. And yeah, we'd get these doubles. Some young people do it, but they have them all the way up here and everything. I live in a very trendy area in Vancouver. It's called Mount Pleasant, and it's very tech oriented here around this area. And you should see the piercings. Some of them have the big backgammon. Like it's not hippie. We have a hippie area too. It's not hippie. It's just whatever you want to do kind of thing. And some of the piercings are really neat. Some of them not so much. So, not my thing. But I don't like anything that's permanent. Like my son, he was hanging out with a rougher group when he was a teenager, and he said that he wanted to get some piercings or tats. And I said, look, I don't want you to have, because I never said no to my kids or anything. I just said, look, I don't really want you to get any piercings or tats because you're making a lifelong decision, right? You're going to be stuck with that for life, especially if you get the backgammon pieces here. So, and I said, I'll tell you what, do whatever you want with your hair. And he did. He grew it right down to his butt and he streaked it black, white, and silver. And then he shaved it all off years later. But anyway. Yeah, another thing too is because I'm in my 60s now and vintage is really in right now, like wearing vintage stuff. And I always say I can't wear vintage because I am vintage. So I just look like I haven't got rid of my high school stuff. Yeah, you can't wear vintage when you are vintage. Anyway, but I would. I love some of this stuff. Okay. Oh, love Lisa. Thanks, Mariah. I appreciate that. Okay, you're the best. So you're not only helped me, but now I can help others. Oh, excellent. You're passing it along. Perfect. I'm getting a lot more support on here. I still get the hate. And you know, I love the hate because that means I'm shaking things up, and that's what I'm trying to do on here. I'm trying to interrupt the trend that's out right now, which is just bad. It's a please your parents style. It's just so negative. You're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. It's just not doing them any favor by trying to roll out the red carpet, giving them participation awards just for turning up. Like, it's just ludicrous. Where's their fortitude, their strength? You're not building any strength. They're really weak when they grow up. Anyway, so I'm always trying to interrupt that. But I get a lot of support on here. When I first came on TikTok a year and a half ago, I got hate like you wouldn't believe. I did not see that coming. I had no idea. It was just unbelievable. Well, they didn't know what I'm like. I freaking loved it. That's what drove my channel up, was all that hate, because people are like, what's all this hate about? What's she talking about? So yeah, it was all my competition that, trashed me, and they blew my numbers up. So yeah, I miss all that. Come back, hate me more. Because I know I'm different, and well, I've been doing this forever. I've been doing this for 17 years, but I know what I'm up against, and so I know I'm going to make a lot of people angry, and that's fine by me. How do you raise a strong, brave child? Okay, you raise them to be problem solvers and to think for themselves. You do not want obedient little soldiers. That's absolutely ludicrous. I teach leadership parenting. You want them to think for themselves and be self-disciplining. That's why I never really told my kids what to do. I didn't really have rules. They just sort of knew what to do. I'd say, well, they understood you got to do what you need to do before you do what you want to do. Like, they would never have said to me, can we watch TV, unless their chores have been done and their homework was done. They just wouldn't have done it. They never asked me for anything unless if they thought the answer might be no. They just wouldn't. They just thought for themselves. And if they had a problem, they'd come to me, Mom, what should we do? And I say, I don't know. Let's figure it out. What do you think you should do? I was always like, my mom did that with me. She never told me what to do. She was always trying to get me to think for myself. And also, I didn't try and pave the way for my kids. I kept them in regular schools. I kept them mainstream. My son was labeled as gifted. I fought for that. In high school, they did have to say, I didn't have a choice. They segregated him in high school. And but before that, I kept him mainstreamed. Life is not segregated. You know what I'm saying? Like, I wanted to keep them and if they got a bad teacher, I was like, good, it'll prepare you for getting a bad boss one day. Like, life has ups and downs. I didn't try and protect them from all that. We had a really happy, like, loving family. Like, their family life was beautiful. They were treasured. We spent a lot of time together. So out in the world, it's tougher. I didn't want to go out there and save them from everything. I wanted to prepare them. When they've got a really good leader at home, they're not susceptible to bullying, peer pressure, the drug dealer on the corner, the internet, the Kardashians. They're not looking for leadership anywhere else. They're going to come to you right through the teen years. It's just the way it goes, because they trust you. You're a safe place to land. I had that. My mom was like that. My dad gave in a lot. He died when I was younger, unfortunately, but he was the treat master. He was he was just a really nice guy, but he couldn't discipline. My mom was the leader. So yeah, don't try and roll out the red carpet everywhere they go. Have a really happy home life, have fun with your kids. But when they're out in the world, when they come up against something, don't go and save the day. Teach them how to do it. You can't gentle parent when you don't have gentle kids. I don't know what you're talking about. I'm not a gentle parent. I don't discuss it. Could you explain more on gifted? Oh, my son just thinks differently. He was labeled that way when he was 3. He was offered he got a lot of opportunities came his way, and I said no to them all. I kept him mainstreamed. Yeah, because I've seen too many gifted kids. Too many parents think this is a big deal. I think it's ridiculous. I'm more about, are you a good person? Are you nice? That's my focus. Anyway, he just happened, and you can never take credit for being born a certain way, like being beautiful, being extra smart, being talented with music. You can't take credit for those things. You're just born that way. So I never taught him that he was better than anyone because of it. I said, you're born with a brain that just works differently. He's 33 now. I always kind of feel sorry for him in a way, because he just thinks differently. Like, you can tell his brain, he's always going to be the smartest one in the room. He's surrounded by the rest of us numbskulls. Like, he's just, I wouldn't want to be different. Like, I'm happy to be a numbskull. So, but yeah, I knew he was different. He was about 1. And I remember watching him thinking, yeah, I've worked with hundreds of kids. And I thought, yeah, he's different. And, but I didn't want that. I kept him mainstream, kept him as normal as possible. There you go. How do I stop my son from asking me why when I tell him no? Well, how old is he? He'd probably be older than 3 if he's asking why. A toddler doesn't usually say that because they don't care. They just want what they want. They don't care why. So yeah, they say why. I would go, I don't know. Like I don't explain myself. When I've said no, I don't explain. Who knows? But why? But it. Yeah, I wouldn't answer that. I don't explain myself. Once I've said no, that's it. It would be like if you got a ticket for speeding. But why? But why? Could you imagine him answering that? Like he'd look at you like you were nuts. I kind of treat kids like that. Like, you know, prepare them for the real world. They can't act like that. The teacher says you have to have your homework due. But why? You don't want that to be a part of who they are. Just treat it like, you kidding me? If I'd talk like that to my mom, but why? She would have gone like this. Are you kidding me with this? Like, oh, never mind. That's what I did. 3-year-old responds sometimes yell with you don't tell me no stop. So I don't respond to that stuff. Why would you respond to that? I don't respond to bad attitudes. No, so you don't tell me. Just say, okay, he's 3. He's on the behavior board, right? Use my behavior board, and there's a rule and a consequence on there, and follow through with that. You're learning how to be a leader. You've taught him that. He's 3. You've taught him that he's getting away with that, and he knows it. He's 3. Yeah, you've taught him that. So just start learning. Just start using the behavior board. It's free up there. If you want to hire me, I got a whole course on how to get respect in 5 weeks if you're interested. It's all linked above. Okay. Do you believe in ignoring bad behavior when it's being repeated? I never ignore it. I never want to ignore it the first time. I never ignore bad behavior ever. Tantrums are not bad behavior. They're a reaction to hearing no. They're not bad behavior. But yeah, I never ignore bad behavior. Never. What do we do if they aren't affected by punishments enough to not do the action? Well, you might want to hire me for that. It's just not working for you. You might have to go to the next level or there's something missing there. It works, but you just haven't found the right way to go about it. If you want my help, you'd have to hire me. How do you deal with teen shoplifting? Teenagers, I can never give simple answers to because I don't know what kind of parent you are. How have you been parenting in the past? Was it effective and all of a sudden they just started shoplifting? So yeah, I'd need to know what kind of parent you are and how to move forward. And I would say shoplifting. Yeah, I don't know what it is. Is it big, little? Have they done it before? What kind of, I need to know your relationship with your teenager. How you go about it is very different depending on I know exactly what I'd do if my kids did that. I know exactly what I'd do, but I don't know where you're at. I'm level 10 with leadership parenting, so I know exactly what I would do. But if you're not level 10, what I would do wouldn't work for you. I'll tell you something funny. My son, this might answer it for you. My son was a teenager, and one of his friends said, they were just chatting, they do. Would you ever break the law and do something? And my son said, are you kidding me? He says, I'd be terrified my mom would get to me before the police could. Darn rights. Ah. Can you show examples of authoritative parenting? That's the old-fashioned authority style. That's the you do what I say, my way, the highway, I'm your parent, you listen to me, that kind of stuff. It's a one-way street. They demand respect, okay? And they often get it. And then in the teen years, those teens tend to rebel, but then they come out the other end stronger for it, stronger for having the authority parent, and then they appreciate the authority parent. That's usually how that goes, okay? That's old-fashioned. They're not usually friends with their kids either. They're the authorities. That's the old way. It's not horrible. I would rather that than the newfangled pleaser parent. Rolling out the red carpet, telling them they're wonderful and perfect everywhere they're going, expecting their children to be special treatment everywhere. Everywhere, it's my child coming through, special treatment. And, you're raising self-entitled snowflakes with mental health issues. It's ridiculous. So those are the polar opposites. And that's a one-way street, too. The kids are in charge. They when they're teenagers, and all through the years, actually, they wipe their feet all over those parents, and they never appreciate them. And they grow up very weak. So if you're going to err on either side, go to the authority. It's not a bad way to do it, but the pleaser is a disaster. Anyway, I don't do either one of those. I do the leader. You're best friends with your kids, but boy, oh boy, you know how to lay down the law when they do something bad, correct it. And they're embarrassed. They want to please you because they look up to you. You're like a mentor to them. You're never telling them what to do. You're working things out together, but you're still in charge. You're the leader. They need, crave, and want leadership. The pleasers don't do that at all. There's no leadership there at all. And that's what is missing. Children need, crave, and want leaders. They're just lost without it. Lost. I see it every day. In coaching, I see this all the time. We have to erase all that stuff. How to start to discipline a 20-month-old. Toddlers are all about consistent corrective actions, but pick your battles. Pick one thing at a time. You can't do everything because I would, but when you're learning how to do this, just pick one thing that they do that you don't like. But I also said there's 5 different things that make your life easier with a toddler. So start here, completely childproof your home so that you never have to say no to them. And then get a toy rotation system going so that they never have all their toys out at once and they're never bored. And enter their world when you play with them. So find your inner toddler. Don't take them to the nail salon to bond with them. And then stop trying to figure them out. They haven't formed yet. They don't make any sense yet. They haven't developed common sense yet. And then the last one is stop talking to them about their feelings and all that. They learn all this stuff organically through you playing with them, hugging them. That's what they want. They don't want all these mini therapy sessions. It's just garbage. And if they do something bad, it has to be consistent corrective actions because they learn through actions. They're watching you. No, they're not listening to you at this age. And they learn through repetition. So those are my 5 best pieces of advice for toddlers. So I say the same thing so many times that I can't hear myself anymore especially when I talk about the link up above and hire me for coaching. But when I can tell when I'm talking, and I know I'm talking, but I don't even know what I'm saying anymore. I got to change how I say it. Wake myself up. Okay, it's just when I'm saying the same thing, I got to change just the way I say it. There you go. I thought my mom was so mean growing up, but now as an adult, I appreciate her tenfold. There you go. That's that authority parent, right? Right? Not a bad way to do it. How do you become a leader to your kids? Just teach watching. I have a whole course on that. If you're interested, it's up in the link above. Teaches you how to do that in 5 weeks. Do not fast track that course. Do not fast track it. Don't go to week 4. Everyone wants week 4. You got to go through weeks 1, 2, and 3, at least 3 weeks before you even think about going to week 4. Everyone wants that. You can't start at week 4. You have to go through weeks 1, 2, and 3. Anyway, you can read the whole course, but then go do one week per, you know what I mean? Like it's all labeled out in 5 different weeks. You can go slower, but don't go faster. Yeah, there you go. I guess the hardest thing about parenting is we're all new at this and our children are new at life. I used to say, wouldn't it be great if you could just trash the first family and start all over again and do a better job? A lot of men do that. They have second families, right? And they think, I was such a better dad. Yeah, that's because you practiced with the first one. I had tons of experience with kids before I had my own. I wouldn't change a thing in how I mothered. But I always say I left a trail of destruction behind me practicing on other people's kids. And then I figured it out with my own by that time. But yeah, it is. You're new. They're new. So that's why, it's the hardest job in the world. Everyone expects you to be an expert, especially you. It doesn't make any sense at all. It's the hardest job in the world, the least amount of training, and everyone expects you to be an expert. Does that make any sense? It's like everyone goes to Lamaze classes to learn about birth. I didn't use one thing I learned in there, not one. Breathing, tell me to breathe. Are you freaking kidding me? Shut up. Don't tell me how to breathe. Like nothing helped. Everyone, invests in that. They invest on learning how to birth. That's one day. And the baby just takes over anyway. One day. And yet no one takes parenting courses until they're in trouble. You can avoid all that trouble. Educate yourself on parenting. But you got to pick a path. You got to decide what you want because you can't pick and choose what you like from different people. I mean, I do that in business all the time. I follow some, oh, that's great. And then I follow some, oh, that's great. And then I get all confused and don't do anything right. So if you're going to do anything, pick a path. Like if you're going to follow me, just follow me. Do my method for 3 weeks. If it doesn't work, move on. You cannot put time out into my method and expect it to work. My method is meant to be used as a package, as is everyone else's. So if you were to mix all, it's like dieting. You don't go to all the different diets and pick and choose what you like, right? They're meant to be used together. They're meant to be used as a package. It's a method that's packaged up a certain way. So what did I have? Oh no, I can't talk about it. They know who I was talking about. A client did something. I told you not to do that and you did it. I know, it didn't work. I know. We just laugh it off and move on. Give me the best parenting advice. Use your ears more than your mouth. Learn how to listen, to understand, and show empathy, and then shut up. They want your advice. They will ask for it. They already know it anyway. So listen, to understand, and show empathy. The better you get it, I call it silent listening. Well, it's the political correct term for it. I just made that up, silent listening. So you just learn to listen because they will tell you everything right through the teen years. Listening. My best parenting advice, listening. My mom was brilliant at it. You could tell my mom anything. I told her everything, as did my kids. Everyone wants to listen to gather information to lecture with. That's what parents do. They think that's what they should be doing. You can't be more wrong. You don't listen together, and here's what you should do. They're going to not talk to you when they're teenagers. They're not going to tell you anything. Yeah. How can I stay a leader when every other adult around well, you're not taking charge of parenting. I can't help you with that. If you want to hire me, I could maybe tell you how to deal with the other adults. It's your child. If other people are parenting, you can take them to court and say, stop. You know what I'm saying? Like, that's adult stuff. It's your child. Like, you're asking me to solve your adult to adult issues. Yeah. That comes up a lot in coaching, but it's not a TikTok answer. My mom was great at listening. My mom was just special. She was my mentor. I adored her. Anyway, but every time I'd go to her, Mom, I got a problem. What should I do? She'd say, well, I don't know. You're a smart girl. You can figure it out. And then we'd talk about it. I always thought I was coming up with my own solutions. She would throw the odd thing in. Oh, yeah, I remember something like that happened to me. And I remember what I did. Like, I always thought I was coming up with all my own answers. And I was little when she started doing that. So yeah, you want to raise problem solvers. You want to raise kids who have confidence, who can think for themselves. You don't want to have obedient little soldiers. That's just pathetic. Like, what losers? You know what I mean? Like, you want independent thinkers. And I'll tell you something. The reason why you're on that behavior board is you got to be accountable too, because your kids are watching you. They're not listening. They're watching more than they're listening. And if I did something wrong, my kids loved it. They would look at each other like this. And I'm like, oh, crap, because I knew I'd messed up. So I'd say, what do you want? So they'd say, we'd love to go to the water slide park after school. And I'd say, okay, fine. I always made amends if I messed up too. I was very accountable. They had no problem telling me when I messed up too. But I was in charge. I was the leader by far. So, but they had a voice. Okay, do you think child remembers breakdowns from mom when they were 2 and 3 years old? I mean, nobody really knows that. I would say overall, no, you can recover a lot. They're very malleable, very pliable at that age. I think they're 3 3/4 is when they really start to kick in, their memories and all that. 3 years and 9 months. I've always said that. I've been saying that for like 50 years with kids. 3 years and 9 months is when I see a lot of they just sort of change. Yeah. But they are very pliable. They're very forgiving too. What about spraying kids with a water bottle when they are being disrespectful? What do you think I'm going to say to that? That's a big no. Well, I'll tell you what. How would you feel if your boss did that? Same thing. Hey, you made a mistake with the payroll, squirt. Same thing. Your child whines. Whiners, it's a learned behavior. It means it would have paid off in the past. Yeah, I just say, you don't speak like that. I won't answer you if you talk like that. So, and I would mimic it. I would say, if you say to me, I want that, you'll get nothing. You can say, may I please have, and then I don't talk to them after that. Let them learn. The only times my kids ever had attitude, I remember this. My son was the first one. He was 5 and he'd been at a friend's house and he came home and said to me, I'm bored, in that snotty tone. I'd never heard that before. And I went like that. He instantly looked scared. Uh-oh, this isn't going to work with her. So he must have heard it from a friend. He'd never spoken to me like that before. I'm bored. And I looked at him like this. I said, oh, my poor little angel. Instantly, he's like, oh, God, I wish I hadn't said that. Because I like to use humor with stuff like that. So anyway, I said, come with mommy, my poor bored little angel. And he's like, never mind, never mind. And I took him in the laundry room, filled up a mop bucket and gave him a mop. He was never bored again. 5 years later, my daughter said the exact same, they're 5 years apart, said the exact same thing. She'd been in a friend's, I'm bored. And my son just started laughing. And I said, oh, my little angel. She instantly went, oh, no, oh, no. So yeah, I don't give that whining, and I don't give them a chance with that stuff. It's a learned behavior, though. It means it would have worked in the past. Yeah, they were never bored again. Funny thing about that. You have such a great memory. I love that. I've told them so many times. I got millions of stories. A lot of stuff comes out in coaching that I wouldn't tell on here. I'm afraid my kids would hear it. I'm very careful though. It's nothing really. It's never anything really personal, and I never discuss them as adults. But yeah, I shouldn't even have said that. I got a text from my daughter. She never watches me anymore, but yeah, no, I honestly don't tell anything that personal, but I do tell a bit more in coaching, especially if it's something that's really very similar to what they're going through. I'll tell them, oh, I remember when my kids did that, blah, blah, blah. What would you say if they moaned and said, I don't want to mop? It worked for me because I had respect. They instantly, oops, they knew they'd messed up. So yeah, I wouldn't use that if I didn't have respect. See what I'm saying? Like that's level 10 with what I teach. I'm a leader. I'm level 10 with what I teach, my leadership skills. So sarcasm worked for me very well. Like my mother would have done that. She would have gone, are you kidding me with that? Okay, let's go. Oh no, never mind, never mind. It would have worked. But yeah, if you haven't got their respect, that wouldn't work. So that's one of those situations. I don't tell what I did really a lot of the time because I already had respect. I just maintained it. I got respect when my kids were tiny and just sailed right through the teen years. I don't teach that. I teach how you get respect. You got to work for. I worked for that when they were little. I earned it. It doesn't get handed to you on a silver platter. Okay, if you're not on the same page as your partner, Rebecca, what you do is you say, okay, let's cut a deal here. We're going to flip a coin. We're going to parent your way for 3 weeks. If it works, we're going to keep going. If not, we'll go and we'll do it my way. Okay. And then just cut a deal. Say, I'm in charge now or you're in charge. And just do it that way. It's the only way. Well, when I'm hired, I'm often hired by a couple. And this is often what I see. It's usually the woman who hires me. And sometimes I'm hired by the men too. But it's usually the woman. And this is the mom. When they first see me on Zoom, this is the dad. And I'm like, gee, I wonder who wanted to hire me. So they're not on the same page at all. So I have to pick a leader. And I say, you're going to follow the leader now. And the two parents, you're going to be in charge. And the other one has to defer everything to you. And I often pick this one. It's the one I think I can get the best results with. It takes me a few minutes to figure it out. But they're often surprised with which one I pick to be the leader. So if you can't be on the same page, you have to pick a leader. And just go. And I always say, don't waste your money. This works. This is what I do. So I say, do it my way and do it this way for 3 weeks. And whenever I say, don't waste your money, you've already paid your money with me, don't waste it. Then they both get on board usually. When you said bad behavior at daycare only, I have no context. I have no idea what you're talking about. Like I don't know what's going on there. If you want me to figure that out, you'd have to hire me. I would have to assess the situation. Usually they're better when they're out and worse at home. Usually, unless something's going on at daycare. It's not necessarily something awful. I'll tell you, my daughter had a really hard time in her kindy. I can tell this story. Maybe. I hope she's not on here. Yeah, I don't think she'd care about this one. Anyway, she was very much a little lady. She was born old. I was born old, like just never silly, like silly humor, but we were always responsible and very, never tantrumed or anything. She was a little lady. She was always very mature. She was 3 years old and she just started kindy. And they had at this particular kindy, they had all open toilets. There was no separation. You could see everything. She would hold it all day. She was humiliated. And it was in Australia. It was stinking hot and she wouldn't want to drink anything, so she wouldn't have to use the toilet. But she was so embarrassed by that. So she was a very polite little girl, but you never know what's going on. That, like, I didn't even know that. The teacher finally, I think my daughter finally told me, but she didn't even tell me about it. I don't know why. Like she didn't know how to articulate that. So, but anyway, yeah, they let her use the teacher's toilet. And because she was such a little lady, she was a little lady. Anyway, but yeah, so you never know what's going on there that might upset them. It's not necessarily anything that's a big deal. I do not like public restrooms. Yeah, I hate them too. You should see me disinfect before I use it. Oh God, I've got all sorts of disinfectants in my bag and I'm spraying it all down. Anyway, I'll tell you a funny story. When my son was about, I knew this was going to happen. I was just dreading it. Whenever we go to the mall or wherever, um, and he would say, oh, he had to go in the ladies' bathroom. He was probably about 9, like he was quite old. And he said, Mom, I don't want to go in the ladies' bathroom anymore. He was getting past it, right? It was getting awkward. And I knew it was coming. And we didn't have to use the public bathroom that often. But when we did, I'd bring him in with me, right? So I said, okay, sweetie, you can go into the men's bathroom. Do you know what I did? It was at I remember exactly where it was. It was in Brisbane, Brookside Mall. And I went like this, and I opened up the door to the men's bathroom, and I stood in the doorway, and I said, okay, sweetie, go in there, use a stall, and if you're not out in 2 minutes, I'm coming in after you. All these men came running out, laughing and zipping up their flies. I could see everything in that bathroom, but I didn't care. I wanted to keep my kids safe. He was pretty safe. But yeah, I made it very clear that Mom was right there. I was very overprotective with safety. Yeah. I have 2 kids. They're 33 and 28. My son's 33. He's expecting his first child this year. And my daughter's getting married tomorrow. She's 28. So yeah, it's a big year in our family. And both of them have been together with their partners for about 10 years. So yeah, my son's 33 and my daughter's 28. And I'm 62. Yeah, that public bathroom. That was one of my favorite parenting moments. I love stuff like that. It gets everyone laughing. Like the men coming out were just cracking up. And then there were men about to go in. They say, woo, I'll wait a little while. Because I was very loud when I said it too. That's my kid, I would never apologize for mothering. Like, I'm not one to go in and save the day. If they were being bullied, I trained them how to handle that. They were never bullied. But if there was something going on at school, I trained them how to handle it. But out in the adult world, just in public with adults, I was very protective. Never would apologize for that. Are your kids close? Not really. They're 5 years apart. One lives out in the suburbs and one lives downtown. My daughter and I see each other every day because we both live very close. My son's out in the suburbs. It's just different. My daughter and I live like a 5-minute walk from each other downtown. How old was it he went to the public washroom? I mean, without me doing that? Probably 9 or 10. But he was so prepared, he knew if anyone did anything, he'd just say something. Because I talked to my kids about all that stuff. I don't want to get into this, but there was a few things I told my kids growing up, and I really believe it kept them safe. A lot of it was online safety, but I can't really go into it because there's sometimes kids watching on here, and it's a little bit dodgy. Like, I wouldn't want to just say it, But yeah, I was very, very careful. I've worked I had a incident very long time ago, probably 10, 12, 15 years ago, because I've been doing this for about 17 years now, parent coaching. Anyway, I had this brand new client, and it was, 5 minutes in, and I said, I'm going to hang up, and I'm going to call the police. She had a young teenage daughter. I won't say the age, but I remember how young she was. And she was talking to a young boy online, and the mother was afraid she was going to run away to meet him. So the police, anyway, I said, you call the police. I'm going to call the police. We're going to both tell the story, blah, blah, blah. The police got a sting operation and put the guy in jail. They found it was a dirty old man, sure enough. And they pretended they were her, and they got off the bus and they arrested him. He was standing there waiting for her. It was great. I love stuff like that. But the mom didn't know how to handle that. And I said, oh yeah, that's a police matter. Online stuff can often become in-person stuff. So, oh, how cute. My son's expecting 1st in October, daughter getting married in September. Isn't that cute? So we're in the same boat. Yeah, lots happening this year. Congratulations. I've had a lot of, because I used to do a lot of crisis work. I sort of specialized in that, especially with teenage stuff. And I've had some really frightening stuff happen where parents don't quite know what's happening. And I said, yeah, I think I know exactly what's going on. So I've often had to call the police in. So yeah. The mom was told by her best friend had told her mother, and that mother had contacted the mom, and that's why the mom hired me. That's how that happened. So the daughter never told her anything. And yeah, I don't want to go into all that. That's sort of more serious stuff, and there's a lot involved in all that stuff. But online safety is something that I'm really serious about. Like, yeah. What would you do if your toddler hit another kid in public, like at the playground? Fast. Consistent corrective action. I'd take action. I'd say no, and I'd pull my kid over to sit with me for a little while. It's not timeout because they're sitting with you, and I would just hold them kicking and screaming, but just for a short time if they're really little. So you say no, and you pull them away right away. So the other kid gets to have fun. Especially, it's really good if they take a shovel away or something from another kid. You hand that shovel over to the other kid. I did I don't know, was it a video or a course or something on this about two kids? I used to tell this story. It was a very good example about two kids in a sandbox. They each had two pails, two shovels, and one kid grabbed everything. So I grabbed everything off the kid who grabbed everything, gave it all to the other kid, and then picked the kid up and walked away. And the kid didn't do it again. It made such an impression. It only took that one time. But you gotta be fast. I wish I could be so level-headed as you. I'm not. I actually am pretty level-headed in a lot of ways. I'm very goofy in a lot of ways too. But like I love giggling and laughing and all that. But I'm very responsible, I guess you'd call it. Like I always was old. I was always the one. If there was any keys to be handed over when we were out partying, they'd always hand them over to me to drive. I was always designated driver, that kind of person. But whole bunch of stuff I'm lousy at, but kids just make sense to me. I just get it. I always did. Yeah, I was always trying to figure kids out because they're really the best of us because they're us before we got messed up by life. They're us without all the baggage, right? You look at kids, you'll learn more about human nature from watching kids forming. And plus, I didn't understand men until I raised one. I remember once my son said to me, he says, Mom, he said, when you say to a man, what are you thinking? And he says nothing. He says, we're thinking about nothing. So like just stuff like that. I really, I guess I'd heard that before, but I didn't really believe it. But when you raise a man, like I saw him form into a man, he just changed. I remember, I never forget this. He was 14 and every single morning he would wake up and they go, morning, sweetie, how are you? And he'd go, morning, Mom, voice cracking. It was great. One morning he got up, he's like 6 feet tall. I get up, I go, morning, sweetie. He turned around, his face looked different. He was hormonal, I guess. He was 15 and he went, morning, Mom. His voice had gone down. He just turned into a man overnight. It was freaky. So yeah, they're just different. Yeah, men can actually think about nothing. Women don't. And I think that's because we're the ones who have the babies and we have to think, our minds always have to be running because we always have to watch kids and think for kids. I think nature just set us up that way. Whereas men need to conserve their energy to go out hunting. And you know what I mean? I don't know. I just made that up. But it makes sense to me. That's why I think women are more sensitive to hot and cold too, because we're the ones who carry the babies and we have to be more sensitive to that kind of stuff. Does that make sense? I don't know. I made that up, but it makes sense to me. When should I be concerned about too many tantrums? I don't know. Depends on the age and how long and how you handle them and what else is going on. Plus, if you're meeting their needs and managing their wants, then you should be okay. But if you're not sure if you're meeting their needs are a lot of fun and a lot of happiness and goofiness and clowning around, not just food and shelter. They need to play, that fun. And that's how they learn. They learn through play. They don't learn through hearing stuff. They learn through doing stuff. So, but yeah, I don't know. So make sure you're meeting their needs and managing their wants. And then if you really think they're having too many tantrums, they do go through stages where they have a lot of tantrums. They don't all have them. My daughter never had one. I never had one. My son had them. He was just born to have them. You got a super sassy 3-year-old. It just means she doesn't respect you. Work on your leadership skills. Remember, we're never fixing kids. We're fixing parents. We're teaching parenting here. teaching leadership. We're not fixing kids. They're just, their behavior, what they say and what they do is a direct reflection of your parenting. She's just reflecting your parenting. So work on your leadership skills, especially when they're little. Their behavior and what they say, everything is a direct result of the parenting they get. They're just reacting to you. As they get teenagers, it can switch off a little bit. They're more influenced by the outside world, which is normal because they're becoming more at one with that and less with you because they're separating from you, right? But yeah. Yeah, this is tips for teaching 5-year-old to not be a sore loser when playing games. Yeah, my mother, and we were like in our 60s and 50s, my brother and I, and she was still saying, I guess she said to my brother too, I don't know. My mom did not like poor sports. She always saw it as a real ugly quality. She raised us to be really good sports. We play hard, but we don't care if we win or lose. We play to win, but we don't care if we win or lose. My mom said it's better to play well and lose than to play poorly and win. She was all about how you play and be a gracious loser. Like she just hated sore losers. Anyway, so yeah, what she did was when we were growing up, she focused very much on how we played. Very much. Oh, you played that game so well. She never focused on the winner or the loser. There was always money on the table, though. My mom would not play a game without something on the table. It didn't have to be money. It could be candy or whatever. But she always had to have a bet. She was a gambler. She didn't gamble much, but she always loved to have something on the table. She said, what's the point in playing if you're not trying to win something? And but she didn't care about winning or losing. Does that make sense? You play to win, but anyway. So focus on how they play and how well they play. You played that so well, but don't focus on the win. Also, don't play Monopoly. I think it's one of the dumbest games in the world, and I'll tell you why. You know who's going to win the whole game in the first round. Like it's like whatever you Park Place, okay, you won. Like it's like then you got to go through like 2-3 hours of agony. Just like you can't. There's no hope. I don't like it when there's no hope. But yeah, I hate Monopoly. I've played it millions of times, but you always know exactly who's going to win the first round. But yeah, so play games that aren't as winning obvious, like piles of money in front of one person, and so think that through. What was I going to say about that? Oh, I know. It's a funny story about my son. We were playing, him and I were just playing Monopoly once. And of course, I was winning. I wasn't always winning. I'm not great. I don't care about, I never care about winning. So I don't really play to win even. So anyway, we were playing Monopoly and I was winning and he was like getting more and more tired. He was just exhausted. So I said, it bothered me that he didn't like losing and it was bothering me. He was about 7 maybe. And he was like this, he says, honest mom, I'm not a sore loser. Cause I said, I don't like sore losers. You better, you be gracious when you lose. Right. And so he said, yeah, I'm just so tired. I can barely hold my eyes open. So you know what I did? I cheated and I flipped the game so that he started winning. All of a sudden he was full of energy and on the ball. It's hilarious. But yeah. So yeah, focus on the playing, not the winning. Candyland. I've heard that game. I don't never played it. Trouble. Yeah, I remember that when I was a kid. We used to. Well, I'm a product of the '60s. I was born in 1960. So we used to have games like Mousetrap. I don't know if you ever heard of that game. It took forever to set it up, and it never worked right. It was just all you ever did was set it up, and then you never even got to play because it just always broke. And I never had Operation, but I have friends who had that. All those old games. But I was raised on played a lot of crib and a lot of rummy. I used to play crib. I was 5 years old when I used to play crib. I love that game. Played a lot of cards. She asked for alone time and said she was sad and didn't want to be around him. Didn't want to be around here. Didn't want to play anything. They weren't his toys. She's too. Oh, they're just little kids. My almost 3-year-old is just starting to have a lot of separation anxiety. Any advice? Do the dump and run. I did that with my kids. And when you're leaving them, always say, I'll see you at such and such. Talk about when you're going to be back, but dump and run. Do it fast, like pulling off a Band-Aid. Don't drag it out. Say, yeah, I'll see you later. I'll be back in a couple hours. Bye. And then go. So they survive. They go through stages all the time. They're just tiny. You're also born 1960. Yeah. I always heard that that was the last year the baby boomers were born, was 1960. And then I heard recently it was 62, but anyway, I always thought it was the last year for baby boomers. Yeah. I love being born in a decade because you know exactly how old you were at any given. You didn't have to do any math. Like 1980, I was 20. You know what I mean? Because I'm not very good at math, so I hated that game. Never worked. Yeah, Mousetrap. There was a few like that. That did really well, and then the other ones came out. Who is that? A couple comedians. I've been into Greg Warren lately, but like Brian Regan, and he was talking about Mousetrap. He said that you spend all this time trying to set it up, and then you just chuck it aside. By the time you get it set up, you're so sick of it. Okay. This would be a Southern Mimi raising my grandbaby. She's 3. She has intense fits. She's been through trauma. I do specialize in that kind of stuff, but you'd have to hire me. That's a one-on-one thing. I'd have to figure that out, help you through that. So I'd need to assess that. So if you want my help, you can go in the link above and hire me if you want my help. Told my 3-year-old it's okay to be sad. Now anytime she's having a meltdown, she says it's okay to be sad. Yeah. I don't talk like that, but yeah. It's okay. Sure, you can be mad all you want, but just don't drag me into it. So I used to tell my son as he got older, yeah, you can have as many tantrums as you want. Go in your room and do it. As he got older, right? He stopped having them. He realized they only do what works as they get older, 3 to 4. They only lean into what works and they lean away from what doesn't. If tantrums never work, they just stop having them. Why would they have tantrums when they never work? They just learn they only do what works. Kids are very good at that. Us adults are stupid. We keep doing the same thing over and over again, expecting different results. Kids don't. They move on. They try something new. See, they're just smarter than us in a lot of ways. Okay, good tips for first-time mom. Yeah. Well, babies. I mean, they're all. It's all different. I mean, everyone's different. If you have postpartum, that's really difficult. What is it? 1 in 7 women have it. Anyway, so yeah, if you have that, you have to get that addressed right away. You'll know if you're feeling right or not. But otherwise, mom and baby, happy and healthy. Don't worry about anything else. Don't worry about cooking or cleaning, and just tell your husband or whatever that, or your partner that, and just say, I'm just going to learn mom and baby for the first 3 months, especially happy and healthy. That's it. Don't worry about that. And don't look at those Instagram pretty mums. Look at the fun. Look at mom fails. Watch all the mom fail videos and have a good laugh. I remember once I turned up with my second. I turned up. I had her with me. Obviously, she was brand new. And I went to lunch with a bunch of friends. We were all dressed up, and they said, "Is that baby poop on your forehead?" And I'm like, "Yeah, probably." Like, parenting's messy. Laugh it off. It's not supposed to be perfect. Life's messy. If you don't have a sense of humor going through life, you're going to suffer a lot more. Life's messy. Okay. Do you agree with choose your battles when you just don't feel like doing the work? Yes and no. Pick your battles if you're going to focus on something. Like with the behavior board, you pick 1 rule per week you're going to focus on. You cannot let it go. You have to focus on it. That's why you start small. Start with something easy, like dirty clothes in the hamper, something like that. Start small. But yeah, you can't once you've made something an issue, you can't let it go. Plus, I never let anything go. If my kids were ever cheeky or did something naughty, I never, ever let it go. I was right there. I'd say, excuse me. And they, oh, sorry, mom. Yeah, how about no TV tonight? Say, nah, just give me a scalp massage or brush my hair for 5 minutes. So yeah, I never let anything go. Never. Yeah. But it was easy. Like, it was no big deal. I'd just say, you left your dirty clothes on the floor this morning. Sorry, mom. How about I help you hang up the laundry later? Sure, okay. They'd usually come up with their own consequence. It was just no big deal. And then when they're teenagers, you let a lot go. You pick your battles with teenagers. You got to let them have some freedom and find themselves. Okay. Oh, I got to get going. Anyway, thanks so much for joining me. I won't be back tomorrow. It's my daughter's getting married tomorrow, so I won't be here tomorrow. Maybe not Sunday either. Anyway, thanks so much for watching. If you look in the link above, bratbusters.linktree, You can hire me for coaching, buy one of my courses, or download my free behavior board. You're on that too. That's what makes it work. Anyway, I got to get going, and have a great weekend. Bye now.